Okay, it's 4:35. We'll open up the September 24th Sewer Commissioners meeting. Doesn't appear to be anybody online, but open the meeting. Elaine, aye.
Bill Watson, aye.
Brian Donahoe, aye.
Okay, so let's start with meeting minutes.
Honestly, I haven't had a chance to look at these.
Okay, so we'll just put them aside then.
All right.
Then we have a final sewer commitment of $46.20. They're looking for approval.
I'll approve that.
For a second,
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We need to initial this? You need a
Yeah,
commitment?
you can initial it, appreciate it.
that way I'm sitting over, just have a little bit of a cold and I don't want
That's
to, I
fine.
don't
Me
have
too.
COVID, I don't do
Yeah.
anything like that. Just,
Just one lane signature only?
Is one good?
Yes,
Okay.
and then I have a few other ones that I need to just have signed that we already approved.
Okay. Good, okay, so that's number one. 19 East Ave. Final meter reading is, Stacy made us aware of it. You know, she made the adjustment, which she do. Shed some light.
$540.80.
Okay. So if we just want to approve an adjustment of $540.80 to 19 East Ave, then based on the email, it says the water meter reading equipment needed to be replaced. It wasn't accurate.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then next we have 9 North Street also had an error in its September reading and looking for an adjustment. So you don't have, do we have an amount for that?
No.
No, I have to get that.
Okay, so, how about do I want to take a vote to have me work with Jeannie to get the final amount and put it through?
yeah, I'll make that
So,
motion, but,
yeah.
let the chair, Elaine, do the work with Elaine,
Okay,
with Gene, I mean, sorry.
Yeah, second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
That way we don't have to have another meeting come back and approve
no.
the.
It's not a big number, I'm sure.
Right. Looks like we have a 31 Highlands Lane's looking for a adjustment.
It's for their rental property at 2 Sunset Road.
What is the water,
So
the water control mechanism broke? Or it's bathroom?
The bathroom toilet, broken in one inch. The 2 bills, one was $1,034.20, second $992.60.
So he's looking for 2 quarters.
That's,
Do we have what his bills typically are?
what did the water department do? Well, they just charge them, but
Just they charged them for the water heat. I don't know what they did.
no, yeah, well, they didn't reduce it though, did they? You don't know. I mean, 6 months.
Do you want to look into it further?
Seems like a reasonable thing to do, 1 month, 1 quarter makes sense. 2 doesn't.
Okay,
Get the history.
No, I recognize the bill as soon as it shows up.
That's what I'm-
Using more water or not.
If I went around the room, I bet you every single person would say the same thing.
It's not the water, they only heard 2 of these today.
I don't get from the mailbox to the house before I know what their bill is.
okay, then we'll put this on the next agenda and have some more information. So that's 1, 2, 3 rate increase update. Mr. Green, are you here for a specific reason? Sure.
I was interested in discussing we had talked about sewage treatment operator training going on at Silver Lake schools.
Oh, okay, want to join this?
I did a little research. It's a Chapter 74 program on environmental science. But a lot of this, it takes some serious baking and discussion. But
Okay.
I have it on my agenda for facilities. We'll talk about it on Thursday as our subcommittee, just to introduce, initiative. Let's talk to Brian about it back a ways. I think it's a great way to create a program for the kids, but also for adult education. So we have an element of adult education we operate in the wintertime. This program not being actually in the school could be operated anytime during the year. And the plant was designed to, when I was on the committee, we spent an extra $10,000 to make it a teaching plant. To have the windows and the taps they need to do the training
Okay,
at it. So it was set up that way. It's never been used that way. But originally we had thought, and we had a discussion with the state about doing the certification at the site and using it on any time so that they could bring their operators down and actually certify them. So all of this would be a great revenue source for both your department and for Silver Lake, as well as bringing the community like with a badly needed program.
exactly.
We are still without an operator. We're still using our facilities director, who's still doing the program out of a stipend that we're paying, and we can't find anybody to operate. So we've got programs, some national concerns have chimed in, but the research that I did talking to some previous operators is that it's basically, they'll take your money nicely, but they're not going to really take care of your plan. So all that said, we want to come up with a solution that, helps the school, but if we could team up with your operators and do something collectively, I think it'd be an awesome program. Environmental science technology is the name of the Chapter 74 program. I just printed it before I left, and well, if I brought a copy, but it didn't show. When I looked at the website, it actually showed plant operations as one of the things that's covered in the program. But when I printed this, it didn't detail it. So I can get that to you, get an email to you guys.
Really, really good for me to help with this. So we've talked about this
Yeah,
over a year back and forth, and between scouting seniors and juniors and school, maybe even sophomore getting into this. I actually brought it up with Dave, and I had two of the selectmen toured the plant about 2 weeks ago and brought it up to them, and they thought it was the greatest idea. So there's a lot of support kind of as we poke around and
You could start off with adult education. The Chapter 74 programs are tough to bring in as a CT program. 1/3 of the kids in Silver Lake right now are in CT. It's so popular. We have thrown out all the other schools we used to cater to men. I say thrown out, but not, the kids are finishing, but we're not opening them to them. And we are planning to bring a business program in because it was the easiest to look at. But this could be done, and this is all not baked with our CTE director. We need to really say that, but with some discussion, I think we could discuss what would be involved. But it takes typically 2 or 3 years to get a 74 program. You basically have to operate it on your own dime before you can start getting Perkins grants and everything.
Okay.
So, but that's not necessarily said we couldn't operate it as part of horticulture and get the kids exposed too, because that program has a little bit of overlap with environmental sciences.
I think it's a great
Anyway.
idea.
So if we can keep the discussion going and see if we can get an outline of what kind of resources, we could borrow from you guys, and then we can look at maybe a great understudy program for your operators. Bring in people
Yeah,
and have a constant flow of local, either kids or adults that.
definitely.
couple of thoughts. If the meeting you have Thursday, is that something you would like me to come to?
It's a Zoom meeting amongst the facility side, and we're not gonna have enough time to really even get ready. I missed my post, it just posted as a introductory
I
discussion.
thought it was a meeting over at Silver Lake or something.
No,
Yeah.
it's just our facilities guys that are doing it, but we've got so many facilities issues, but we're gonna have a heavy agenda.
Do you want, a letter, I mean, for us to vote on it this soon?
No, I'd just like to tell them that I've sat down with you folks and that you're supportive and the information about taking the selectmen through and having some verbal
And
support.
even getting kids this year, do a little tour, just for, half an hour. Our guys are busy, but just that education, they see what's going on and how complicated it is. I know this, I've dealt with it so much in my life. Everything is like over the edge. If you don't want to know anything about it, and then when you bring them in, it's like, wow, it's math, it's science, it's chemistry, it's physics, it's all these things. And it's, and for the kind of kid that, when I was chairman of the board of operation, I actually was chair of that for the state, okay? And we had a lot of kids that were dyslexic or, a lot of kids that were really mechanically inclined, they could do anything, but they had a dyslexia problem or some other learning disability. And we actually made a program that wasn't a written test because they couldn't pass the written test,
Yeah.
but they were smarter than half the people that are in there, So we would have that kind of a program, same kind of thing here. If you find those kinds of kids, if they get enthused, we have an oral test now that takes care of that. And it's a great job.
And that's great to hear too, because we have an element of all our students that have those issues that, and this is a very well-paying career.
Yeah, it really is.
Going forward.
Yeah,
I think it's a great program to do. We have a CTE subcommittee that has 4 members on it too, CTE director. That might be the place to come in. He's also the person, Elliot Glass, and I'll get you the contact information. Elliot is the adult education coordinator too. So
What does CT mean? What does CT mean?
Career technical education.
No,
Thank you. Sorry about that. What used to be vocational.
Yeah, I figured it had to be, but I just.
It's so popular now, these programs, with metal fab and welding and all the things we're teaching. And the other thing is, if we outsource this to another school, we pay big bucks.
Huge money.
And as Blaine will tell you from finance committee.
Yeah.
By bringing programs in our school, we're doing it really on the cheap. So, it could blossom into a program where other schools tuition gets into the program too, if the needs out there. Anyway, I think it's a great discussion to continue, and I just wanted to.
it's definitely an industry need.
Yeah.
Let's hope there's an interest need. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm on the CT committee too, so I'll keep them.
Thanks for coming in.
Look forward to working with you. Thank you.
So,
Have a good day.
Thanks.
Brian, how did the walkthrough go with the,
It went very, very well. I think Dave and his folks did great. And they were taking lots of pictures, a lot of talking back and forth. What was interesting is the two, Tyler and Don. The connection that Don had, I didn't know his background was, but he's got the IT guy. And I'm watching him as we're talking in the beginning, and he's looking at all this SCADA stuff. And it's like, this is my area, So we made that connection. It was not something that he never done. It was his, bread and butter kind of thing. And then he also had an aquarium. So I said, this is a giant aquarium filter. We made the connection.
Oh, good, yeah.
This is a giant aquarium filter. It's taking all the poop from the fish, and except it's people, and it does exactly what your filter does, and it claims the water and puts it back in the aquarium. That's exactly what we're doing. It's just on steroids. And so that theme went through the whole lot. It was great. It was,
Good.
and they're all going to get the rest of the selectmen out there.
Were they surprised to know that there was an underground?
I think they were surprised at the whole thing. I mean, I shouldn't say Tyler knew from his dad. Apparently, when some of the plumbing work that was done, he knew about the downstairs kind of stuff. But yeah, most people are surprised. Like, what's this? It's a whole nother.
Yeah.
There's a whole nother subterranean part of this whole thing.
It was nice that they were able to make a connection from their current, lifestyle
Yeah.
to the plant. And I think Tyler, he's a fisherman. Just that whole connection.
Yeah.
All of them seem pretty familiar with the fish tanks and how they operate. Of
Good.
course, we have one in the break room, so it was, you just take it and walk through the plant using some of the analogies. Yeah, they really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate
Nice
your
to
help.
see them up there. Good.
I tried not to talk at the beginning. I said, shut up. Let them do it. You know, I can get, maybe start going up.
Okay, staff. So Dave, update us on what's going on with staff.
So we've had a long duration that we've been shorthanded. Uh, A lot of that is due to Bob Monahan retiring, myself moving up, Carl moving up, left a vacuum on the lower end of our employment. And some of these guys, well, they're all working out of classification outside of myself and Carl. And we've been waiting for some of this stuff to work its way through, and there's been some huge delays. We're finally at a point that we kind of broke the water this past week and got some movement on things. So specifically, Jordan is the next one to move up, and then Luke would fill his position. I can't move those two positions yet because I rewrote the job descriptions to be more accurate to their actual responsibilities. So this past week, those two documents were sent to the union through HR. So now they're in the union's hands to just approve or debate any of the changes that are on there. There's not really any changes to the job. It was more stuff that was understood as part of the job, but wasn't written into the job description. So hopefully those things will just work their way through and we can then backfill those two spots.
Is there a turnaround time? Because I know it's been close to a year that this has been
So
out there.
it was given to them just last week.
Okay,
There was a follow-up email just about an hour or so ago from HR to say, hey, do you have any response yet on this? I hadn't looked at my email in the last
Okay, yeah.
45 minutes, so I'm hoping that it will be short-lived and we'll get a response pretty soon. That takes care of two of the positions. A third issue we've been dealing with was Jeannie's reclassification. I was led to believe that that went through because there was a change in her rate of pay. That was distributed from HR and accounting to the payroll department. So there was a chain of emails going around. I questioned, was that increase due to the reclassification? And didn't get much of a positive response back on it. I emailed back saying that I'm going to assume that because this rate change falls in line with the time frame we're doing this reclassification, unless I hear otherwise, I'm going to have to run with these numbers I've been given. So I ran with those numbers. And right now I'm hearing that there's some confusion on whether those numbers were accurate or not.
so for 2 months you've been paying, you haven't been told that your interpretation of the new rate scale
Was
wasn't
incorrect.
okay for 2 months.
Yes.
Okay,
So Jeannie's been getting paid what I was instructed to pay her. I asked for clarification on, what grade and step is she based on this increase in pay as far as a reclassification, never got a response. So where I didn't get a response, I emailed back. Without a response to this, I'm going to have to run forward with these numbers as is. So that's how I approached it. So now I believe the union is involved, HR involved, I imagine there's some other parties involved, and they're trying to figure out what we do at this point.
it doesn't sound like we do anything but continue to pay her based on what they told you to pay her as of July 1st.
And that's what I emailed last week saying, based on what I've been doing so far, I've been told nothing other than, I'm gonna go forward with what we've been doing.
And I believe according to the contract that you should have been notified last January of
Yeah,
the decision.
I think it was somewhere in there, maybe December 31st, January 31st, somewhere in there.
Okay, so let's say January.
Yeah.
You heard nothing about the reclassification. July 1st, you're given a new rate pay scale that you've implemented.
Yes,
And 2 months later, they're telling you, oops, we have to relook at this.
yes.
Okay, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm happy to make a motion to continue paying, uh, the position at the rate given as of July 1st. We have the money in the budget,
I have no other choice because I have no clarity on what it should be.
right?
And I can't go back to what she was being paid before because it doesn't fit the revenue, the position. It should have seen an increase either way.
Right.
Uh, So I really don't know what's going on. And I haven't been given any new updates as of a week ago.
I'm gonna second the motion for discussion.
Yes.
Do we need a motion on this? I think, I'm just questioning, I'm totally coming at this, Dave made me aware of this issue with. I'm just wondering, do we need an emotion or just we let Dave just continue? He knows we'll support him, just let him go with that, and if we need a motion, kind of move it maybe, it will be done. No, you go back to the,
Okay,
you know.
Yeah, that's fine.
Again, this is a discussion, I have no particular
fine.
opinion, but, what Dave's doing is correct as a manager, and,
You want to take away your motion?
yeah, I'll withdraw my motion
just,
until,
yeah, all right, no, thanks.
no problem. Okay,
So that's the third HR issue. I'm dealing with. The fourth one is a reclassification of Dave Wilson, who was our labor. He's now working out a classification as a pump station operator. That job, because the DEP mandated our plant go to a grade 5 status when anyone's on call. That means anyone on call now needs to be a grade 5 operator. So the position used to be grade 4. Now it's mandated to be grade 5. I put in for a reclassification on Dave. And I think I sat down with HR this last week, and we've got it to the point that Dave's been reclassified from grade 4 to a grade 6. But it's really not Dave's position
right, it's the position.
because he's out of classification. It's really Luke's position. But he's gonna move up and Jordan's gonna move up. So it's kind of a little bit of a shell game, but that particular position as a pump station operator now, instead of being a 4, it's gonna be a grade 6. In terms of the town scaling, which is a grade 5 operator,
Okay,
if that makes sense.
One thing that Dave mentioned on the other positions about assumed responsibility versus written, that I think is important to mention is 24/7. I think that was the issue. They were doing, the job description wasn't a 24/7 as it was originally written. And this is a job where 24/7 is a big deal.
right,
So, I think it's just not it wasn't a minor thing.
right, that's
Yeah.
major.
Yeah.
That's major.
And during snowstorms, power outages, storms of sorts, we might be there for 2 days camping overnight.
Right.
So all of it was understood, but not written.
Yeah, that's good.
And
good to-
confined space entry, some other things like that, so. And to draw attention to the position in the job description of how these guys are 24 hours a day when they're on call. We had Luke was in here the other night at 2:00 in the morning, dealing with some issues, the night of the vehicle that crashed in the fire station.
Yeah. It was yesterday,
Was it?
1:00
The
yesterday.
days are just running on for me.
I know it is. My wife calls me up, she goes, Civil Lake has no internet, and my internet's going off and on, and I had a meeting, I'm supposed to have a Zoom meeting.
Wow.
You can't have a Zoom meeting. I go, oh, this is good.
Wow,
So Dave's reclassification looks like it went through. I was instructed this week to do all his calculations for retro from July 1 till now. So
okay, good.
I just gave that to HR a couple hours. So that'll take care of that.
Okay.
We're getting somewhere now, but it
Okay.
was a long, long period of nothing, and now things are starting to.
No, we put it on the next agenda and just keep it
Yeah,
as a
just
line item
keep
until you tell
following
us it's resolved. Or it needs additional attention. And any other updates before we get into anything else?
Brian had mentioned, and I didn't make it to the last leaching field meeting last Tuesday. Brian had asked them to look at doing the manhole transitions
Yes.
up in Country Club Way. So I haven't heard anything back from them yet, but it's definitely on.
Yeah, it's on their
brought up
agenda.
to them for agenda.
And with that, has Paul Basler been able to get anything in writing from Mr. Thomas?
I haven't seen her.
Okay. I'll follow up with him.
And he mentioned he might be able to drive through there this week and go over some of the things with me, just kind of point out some of the manholes and issues, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Yeah, other than the rate study, which I don't know if you want to get into that now or move through some of these other items and finish with that.
I think, Brian, do you have anything you'd like to share on the
Just
project?
quickly, there's, on the leaching field, there's some back and forth on the seed mix. I'm keeping Matt Perella involved. I talked to him, following up on our meeting the other day with the, CDM. He's on board with the sticks and replacement things and all that. There's a few things that I talked to CDM. I had a question on slope breakout that's resolved. And then the grass and seed mix, that's being resolved as we speak. That's the final cover. But the schedule of these things with the wells, it looks like the wells will not come in until middle October. And I have commented back, I think everyone saw the comments of the well locations to make them easier. I heard nothing back from that, but I know I walked in there the other day when I was up there and walked around, and I wouldn't walk very far without my walking stick if I didn't have it. So because it gets pretty difficult. Yeah, so I think everything is under control. We're this close to having, water going into that field. There is a change order that we're dealing with for the fields. As you come in, the first E and F, there was a under calculation on cover. So the pipe, as they put them in with the available cover we had left, the pipe would have been sitting at the surface of the ground. So we need 3 feet of cover. So there's a little corner, which is about an acre of that needs to be done. And I just got back and forth with CDM, adjusting their change order request down by 6,000 cubic yards from, it's 6,000 down about 800. So about 10% reduction in the cost of the material.
Wow.
That's, like I said, this is the only we have a problem. We're in really good shape. So that's, get ready for, I was thinking all the rain we have, if we had the seeds down, it would have been perfect. To be like next weekend, I think it would be green.
Oh, wow.
And we just sit there and admire this.
Well, it's good it didn't go up during the drought too, so.
Yeah.
We're probably fortunate.
That's it.
And let's just do the town meeting articles. There'll probably be 2 we're gonna submit, you know the deadline for them?
The 8th,
Yeah, 10/8, okay. We'll have one because we allocated $601,000 last year for a shortfall in our operating budget. To find out that just today, they found out he was certified for free cash for $436,000. So we have to work through that. It would make you believe that we didn't need $601,000 to balance our budget last year if we have $436,000 in free cash. So that article money, if we find out there's a difference, we can reallocate that to this current year's operating budget deficit to give some relief or to the debt or whatever. So that came through today, so we'll figure all that out and probably talk about it at next week's meeting. Because that may now affect the rates.
Well, you're sure if you have to go to a town meeting on that all the users will be there to keep their rates down.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just odd that we're tracking, we thought there might be as much as a $600,000 shortfall, and now all of a sudden we have 436 in free
all I
cash.
can say is thank you all for chasing, giving these guys
Yeah.
chasing the accounting auditing piece as much as we can. I think with the new accountant, I think a lot of this will start to sort even better. You know, Gene's right on top of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, go.
So we need some clarity on some of those numbers and whether they're things have been moved and then that's counted in that number or not, but we'll hopefully get through the weeds in the next couple of days.
And then with the race, it was pointed out that tonight's Board of Selectmen's meeting, one of the agenda items is the town administrator's report. And he has put out that we were gonna possibly vote on rates tonight and provided some chart on rates. With the board's permission, someone wants to go to open forum and just make mention that we're having a public hearing next week, as our bylaw requires. That nothing has been voted on and won't be voted on until next week. And that the numbers put in here are not accurate. And please don't discuss them. So, I mean,
Did you have time to do that? Did you have time to go over?
yeah, I was gonna go anyway for something else.
Okay, all right, thank you.
If you don't mind, I mean,
I think
No,
that's,
no, no. I mean, those numbers were put together based on information we have. We have new information coming in now.
and the fact that we haven't had our public hearing yet.
No, and that's, we won't vote on rates until public hearing,
Right.
and the public has a chance to speak to it.
And it's our story to tell.
Yeah.
And this is already on Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay.
So rather than us being proactive with our public hearing next week, we're gonna have to be reactive to dispel the false information that's out there.
on that point, we've had some discussion about kind of putting together some pretty definitive and I hate to use the word simple, but very direct kind of, here's what the options are. We've all had different discussions on this, I know. But we gotta be thinking about getting that formalized for October 2nd.
Right. Right.
And getting these numbers, we're gonna get into that a little bit. But then the other articles that I drafted for your consideration was, and I'm still working on the word usage. I'm having, because I tend to be very technical and assume everyone knows things that we all know and they don't. And my wife points this out to me every day. What do you mean by this? So I hope I haven't, I only made,
I put copies.
I have an updated one. It's not that you have the 90% of it. I've made some wordsmithing that makes it a little more clear, but I hope you understand the idea here is
Yeah.
there's multiple layers of discussion. I would, and I want to make sure that two things. One is Dave and I have met with Keith. We've opened the door. He's been very good to talking with us, trying to move things forward. The town council, he's told me, doesn't agree necessarily with what I'm saying, but I want to have before, in the next couple of weeks at the latest, the meeting in which I and town council and Keith and whoever else needs to be there can discuss the history, the facts, and the votes that were taken, and see if we can't come up with a re-understanding or a different understanding or whatever of what should have been done. I look at the language and all the motions that go back in history, from the first one in 1999, and the ones for the two tanks and the upgrades, and the one we just had, seem to be exactly the same. And it says the town will pay, and then it goes how we're going to pay it with SRF and other places. I don't see on face value. I don't see where it changes anything.
Okay.
So that's what I'm starting from. So I like to have that discussion, and have it a very open kind of discussion. And if it still comes down to something that no, the town council says no, that article that I wrote was to say, okay, we want to clarify this. We want to go back to the history and get everybody on board and say, well, some of us who are still walking around, the decision was made for a very big capital investment that now is about $65 million. 30 million of it was invested on that vote, and it has been applied as we are talking about. My opinion is it should have been applied going for the rest of it. And let's have a reclarification. Let's everybody hear it. Let's everybody think about it. realize why it's important. And if we don't do it, it's ironic and interesting, ironic that for the first time in several years, we have Grays Beach closings because of human waste showing up in tests. And we have about I say in my upgrade, there's about 600, 700, 800, 900 people who have been waiting to hook up somewhere in that users area. And they were on borrowed time 20 years ago, or they put in an upgraded septic system just to buy them 20 years. We're at 20 years. And now all of a sudden we're starting to see effluent somewhere cutting down to Grays Beach. And the next thing is the shellfish beds. And then, it's going to get worse. So again, putting the whole story on the table that everybody who's a user and not a user understand. We have a $10 million swing here. It's a big number. But the real bottom line to me is if we agree to this, what the town is paying doesn't change. So that the amortization of what we're borrowing is going to look more or less the same going forward for the next 20 or 25 years as it has been for the last 25 years. So that money is, it's not like we're adding this giant thing to it.
Right.
It's not this new thing. So that in terms of the budget, the town sees, nothing changes. And having this at a special town meeting, I think gets that out of the way because town meeting is a different story,
Right.
and we hear that there's going to be an override request coming up potentially. I don't want the sewer commission being in the middle of that situation if we can avoid it, because that's just,
Right.
we're fighting each other. Yeah.
No, I think it's a great idea.
So so when we go to this meeting, I want to sit with you. I can feel my voice already going. So, but that's the bottom line.
Okay.
I will send you a more updated. In fact, Gene, I'm going to give you this copy. The only correction I made is this is my updated version. So you're all working on the same thing. I just realized that the town board meeting was 1997. I had 1999. But if I give you this copy, you can send this to everybody. This is as of today. And any editorial, there's one thing I love editorial comments. If it doesn't make sense, tell me.
No,
I like the general read on it,
yeah,
just some
This-
small little additions.
Yeah.
but I'll
Look at this, because this does a little bit more tweaking.
I think that's heading in the right direction.
So we're gonna get this, I wanna make sure we get this in front of them before October 8th. And the other thing is, to have this discussion that they're having today,
Yeah,
I wish this was in front of them too. And have, because they go together.
Right.
They go
Right.
together. And it's not meant to point fingers at anybody, it's to say, somebody's made a decision. What happened in the past, I don't know what happened in the past, but a lot of people miss this. I mean, I look at finance
I do.
committee, everybody. There's a lot of people that watch the budget stuff. And somehow, and I think I know why, the tumultuous 2003, 4, 5 period with the sewer commission and sewer things, it
Yep.
got lost. And, then it was institutionally lost.
that's it, the history.
Yeah.
Was lost. And you
Yeah.
had that.
Then, as I say, then Knucklehead shows up. You go, wait a minute. That's not what we said.
The only other thing on this document, when me and Dave were looking at it, was to maybe include that the upgrade was mandated by the DEP.
I think I tweaked that exact. You'll see that, but again, add it. If it's not strong enough, I went in and say that a lot of this was all done over a period of 10 years with all kinds of important documents to get us the funding, the permits, everything. And it was federal, local, and state required permits. So if that needs beefing up, go at it.
And, public hearing next week,
Yep.
October 2nd,
5 p.m.
in room,
in room 200.
okay. And we also have to put an agenda together for that.
Yeah.
So we can include anything else we need to on the agenda.
Okay.
And we'll open up with the public hearing. So the public hearing would be part of the agenda. And then any other line items we wanted to talk about after that. And the newspaper that it was published in,
Full colony.
if you can get a
I
copy.
have that.
Okay, perfect. And, that would be read at the meeting. Okay,
And the only thing is, we need to be out of there by 6:30, 6:45. on the second, because the ZBA is at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
I
Okay,
think that gives us plenty of time.
it should,
You would think.
well,
Are we gonna be ready for that meeting with some numbers, the
I think we.
final numbers?
Yeah,
Do we want to meet,
Yeah, some option.
We're gonna discuss some of this tonight.
Tuesday?
put numbers into the things.
Next Tuesday. You want to meet next Tuesday, is that?
I mean,
Wednesday.
we can, or what we can do is
Oh.
finalize, say, 2 options and vote on them, because we have, whatever we decide needs to be voted at the public hearing.
Okay.
So it would be best if we had, say, 2 proposals
Right.
for public hearing. And between now and public hearing, whatever the bodies are to come up with those 2 proposals. And then it's presented to the board Wednesday night, and the board discusses both options and then votes on something after public input.
Would we meet next Tuesday night to discuss it any further amongst ourselves?
I don't know, because we can't pick one.
No. But
We can, I mean, I'm available
I
next
just-
Tuesday.
I think scheduling is probably a good idea, just in
Okay.
case. There's-
I mean, because I want to discuss a couple of different things.
Sure.
The angles that we're working on.
Yeah, and part of the discussion should probably be tonight anyway.
And then, yeah, there was also a question of if and somehow we could defer some of the payments, so that would be, we'll talk about just briefly.
Okay.
Yes, we can, we can't. So to push it out until we get water from the water department, in a couple of years, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, there's gonna be a building, interest rates are gonna come back down. We're gonna have water. We have the flow capacity, anybody that needs it. But it's not now.
Right.
If we didn't have COVID and the interest rates didn't go up the way they did, we would have people building, because we had people all in the pipeline.
Right,
That's why we put the 4th tank down. That's why we went straight to the leaching field. It was a perfect storm for us as a commission, because everything was in place.
including the
Everything
funding.
was, the money, the timing was perfect. And even to get this leaching field put in for cheap, because these guys were willing to do it, wanted to make some money, and we had it available. And we won't have to do anything for another 30 years. We got it.
Right.
Now all the upgrades have been done. Everything is in perfect shape. So we just need to figure out the users shouldn't be carrying the burden of everything. They should not. They should be carrying part of the upgrades, because after 30 years, that's all
Right.
part of the deal. But one of my things was going to be the system, the user fee. I just don't understand the user fee. I understand the user fee is for administrative purposes. It's a one set thing. But when you're gonna go from $15 to $100, which is now $120 a year to a user, who's one person in the household has minimal usage, and you're gonna go from 120 to $400 a year on their bill.
Well, are we going 100 per quarter or 25
That's a
per
good
quarter?
question. I know it is.
Well,
What was proposed? I didn't make the last meeting.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry.
so we didn't really discuss any specific numbers last meeting as
Right.
far as,
But it's the literature that I have.
some options. If,
I think you can go up modestly on that fee, it's at 15 to 25 or 15 to $30. But anything beyond that, it's the consumption part is really where it means if someone's only using 3,000 gallons a quarter, one person in the household, and then you're gonna tack on, another $380 to their bill a year when they're minimally consuming. And what do they get for that service fee? I know the water department, they'll change your meter for you, you don't have to pay for it, but on a gravity fed system, what are you guys gonna come out with service?
Yeah, I would,
I thought it was an administration fee, to tell you the truth, because we outsource our billing back and forth, and so we have to pay that, and that was part of that whole deal. So
No, but
that's one place. Unfortunately, it's a big chunk of money if we raise it. But I don't think that's fair to the users. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
and that's good, because then it can be all reworked.
right. And if we could go around the table, obviously your opinion is let's keep.
I'm only one of the
user fee-
three, so
user fee down and
Yeah.
attach more, say the more of the billing goes towards the consumption.
Yeah, the more you use, the more you're gonna pay no matter what. you know.
So do you have similar thoughts on it, different thoughts?
Just one more
And-
point on that,
Sure.
on the service fee. I think the service fee basically, if you go up like that, is basically you're charging them another betting.
I see.
You know, I mean, when I'm done paying my veteran, it's gonna be $23,000. You know, over the 30-year period, and it's almost $700 a year on my taxes. So you're basically saying to those people, well, you already paid for it. You already paid for our infrastructure, and the buildings over there and stuff, the pipelines. Now we're going to charge you again for it. You know, they paid the dues. You know, phase one, phase two.
Yeah.
That's because I'm a user. I'm on both
Sure.
sides, and I
Yeah,
don't use it. I have a house that doesn't have access to it,
Right.
and I'm willing to pay my fair share of that other third, which is true. The truth is that the rest of the town should be contributing to this.
Well, the rest of the town does benefit from, it. You know, you look at now commercial
Yeah.
properties can, you know, instead of being restricted by a septic system, they've been able to upsize the buildings and put in, you know, multiple apartments and things like that. So, and there's other businesses that roll into town because there is wastewater.
Yeah.
So, and the beaches, the benefit of having the beaches and the public health issues in the Nook where it used to be, and we can all agree on that. The town
All our municipal buildings are on it, and every town owns, the whole town owns that. You know, so we're providing them not having to replace the septic system
So
every 20 years.
when you discuss, and it's just something I want to throw out there too. So a lot of towns do different things.
Mhm.
So, you know, some towns like Hingham, they're at 1869 per 1,000 gallons.
Okay.
And they do $0 for a fee.
Right, I saw that, I did see that. yeah.
Then you have Hull, which is 1736 per 1,000 gallons, and they do $45 quarterly fee. Some towns are as much as 200 quarterly fees, but then their consumption rates are lower. So there's all different
Yeah, I
variations,
mean,
and
you might as well, you really should just charge them the one thing and not try to make up another category and use that category, basically a tax on them for $400, you know, a year.
Maybe that's a couple of the options. Maybe we do an options purely user fees without a quarterly fee.
Well, I don't mind the quarterly fee because again,
Yeah.
I think we use that in-house to, you know, to take care of the paperwork and pay the other departments to come back, and that's a flat thing. You know, it's a kind
yeah,
of.
even if you use no water at all.
Right, right. And the water department has theirs, and then they went up, you know, a couple of bucks on their rate. It wasn't much. They were, I don't know, what was their quarterly fee was,
If we're gonna keep a quarterly.
well, they went to 16, something like that.
I agree, minimal,
Yeah.
not, whatever that
Yeah.
amount may turn out to be.
That the consumption would bear the burden of it
Right.
and not.
Put it where it belongs. Someone that doesn't use much is, well, you know, we have a flow rate for the entire town. And some people that are in a household will use, you know, 50 gallons a day. Some in another household may be using 250 gallons a day, or
Yeah.
a 3-bedroom could be using up to 330 gallons a day. And it's not like we raise the rate on, like the water department does, the more you consume. It's a flat rate.
Good.
So the water, I believe their user fee is now $42.50.
And that's for 5,000 parcels. They're only 1,800, yeah. That's why everything with us is so much more expensive.
And they're on a tier system as
Right.
well.
You're right. They went from 36 to 42 last year, a quarter.
Do you have any thoughts, Brian?
Yeah. One way or the other, we need the revenue. I look at this overhead, this fee is basically paying the salaries, it's paying everything, right?
The user fee.
Yeah. And so maybe $100 is too much, but it becomes a basis that we can always plan on. So whatever we do, if we do it in 2 steps, maybe that's the way to go. And we, just simultaneously, we have this article issue going on. We're not gonna have that resolved, I don't think, unless we can get through, if we get to town meeting, and then we'll resolve it, or we don't. We're not gonna know the answer to that. So if we went to something like 50,
Yeah,
you step it up with the idea that it may go higher. I think that makes some sense to me. It just jacks the other user fee up. But whatever we do, I think has to, and we talked about, they gave me some numbers. Whatever we assign to the user fee, the flow rate fee, if you will, is going to go higher if this goes down on. But as a business enterprise, our profit is part of that user fee, that base fee, I mean, and the septage. And that's about it. We don't have a lot of profit opportunities.
right, and it's not even
Revenue.
profit, it's
Revenue.
revenue for capital or
Right.
whatever
But
else.
I'm saying as an enterprise account, shift the thinking to we're a business now.
Right,
That's profit. We don't go back to the town. We shouldn't be going back to the town to borrow money unless it's some extraordinary thing. So we should be thinking about revenue being collected and not having to be used in any, we just did some maintenance, big maintenance, but we have upgraded the plant, but we should be putting, I'm gonna say, 400 or 500 grand in the bank every year at a minimum. Somehow, some way, if not more. You know, I don't know where you think, but we have to be doing that because somewhere along the line, something's gonna break. And we just can't go out and get it without the money. So that's how I approach it. So as long as we're all thinking in terms of, this isn't about today, this is about 2029,
yeah.
2035, and how do we get there? And
Again, I mean, I totally, I agree with that comment, but you're gonna go from 15 a quarter to 100 a quarter. And
so
so
we
we've been using 15 all along as our backup money. So if we went to 30, that doubles what we were using before. So basically it doubles what was putting in the bank.
I'm looking at our numbers and we don't have a lot of money to play with. I mean, we're borrowing stuff.
Not at the moment.
We
No.
don't.
We're borrowing from article money.
Yeah, we're borrowing from money we shouldn't be touching.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So we're borrowing, how much have we borrowed in the last year?
Well,
Several hundred thousand.
that's a number we discussed earlier.
Right.
It could be anywhere from 600 to, could be down.
200, it could be 100, we don't know now because
But
of the,
the point is we're borrowing from our own ARPA money that should be there for another purpose. If we have, or no purpose, actually.
Upgrades of equipment.
Yeah.
right,
Something that.
Agreed.
If something fails, you have money there to fix it, like your own house, you have an emergency fund.
Right.
And our emergency fund right now is supplementing our shortfalls.
and that's the whole
And that will
thing.
run out.
The plan, which didn't pan out, was with the fourth tank, we would have brought in the revenue and the betterment amount to pay for the debt, we wouldn't be in the situation
Right.
as extreme. We still need a rate increase. Because the rate increase isn't because of the plant expansion. The rate increase is because electricity and everything else have gone up. The rate increase, the plant expansion minimally increased the operating budget, but not to generate a rate increase to this amount.
Right.
So,
I mean, I agree. The users at this point in time should be participating, paying for the upgrades, the new pumps, the new pump stations,
Yeah.
all redoing all the
Right.
equipment because that's general maintenance on what they paid for in the beginning. And so, they need to pay into that. The bigger upgrades, we're on
Right.
tank 3 and tank 4, we're going to be paid for by the people that are going to be using it in the future. Unfortunately, things went the wrong way the last couple of years, and we're just trying to play catch up or stay till we get there. But
On that point, Bill, we have a couple of loose ends with the town owes us for.
Yeah.
So those are out there, it's big money,
Right.
one time, big money. But on the water side, I brought this up at the last meeting, kind of tangentially. I think as part of this fee increase, I would like us to go to the water department, to a meeting sooner than later. And say, we, sewer commission, have now got our system, so we have our capacity. It's almost there. We can start taking lots of new things. So if you're already hooked up to a lot that has a septic system, that shouldn't be a problem. So if you're hooked up to get with all the new houses, any new houses that are out there that have this sense that they are thwarted from building, I would like to go to the water department and say, if a house on the existing sewer system comes before us, or you, or the building department, and they need to hook up, we should have a waiver that they can not, there's no obstacle to them hooking up to get to exactly that point you're making. This, I know it's 800 houses, 900 houses, maybe half of them are already have septic systems, and say another 400 or 500 are vacant lots. I don't know what it is, but it's something like that. They should be allowed to, hey, go for it.
Right. Agree.
They're
Yeah.
not being impeded by a lot of moratorium, because
That's a good idea.
the downside is we have now seen this creeping up
Yeah.
of water degradation that we just spent all this time to get rid of. And I've already we talked to the Board of Health, and they're very interested in helping us this way too, so it's a big deal.
And a question for you, have you ever heard of DEP allowing a delay in repayment?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
We just talked a little bit about this. I think as we learned from some of our discussions with Dave and me and Keith, and this made sense. And I thought about Rocky Cole did this. He had cheap money to borrow when he's doing things, and so he was able to borrow short-term 3-month, 6-month bonds and borrow the money down and only pay interest or something, and let the principal accrue.
Right.
But it just sat there because he was paying this low interest. Then he would be able to refinance it on another short-term loan. So I think it's us talking to the treasurer and accountant to say they should be doing this anyways. But it's like, how do we help you help us?
Yeah.
We need to float for a couple of years until we can, the water department,
Take out the 10 million.
get the flow, going on the 4th tank.
And another question that'll play into the rates. We have that $600,000 odd dollars that can be spent on current pump stations or whatever else that list is. Do we want to use that money for that? For what needs to be done, or do we want to not use the money, give it back to the state, which may reduce the loan, the yearly loan amount by X?
They generally won't take it back.
Okay.
That's the problem. I tried this before.
Oh, okay.
They won't take it back. Now they want to give it away. They hate taking it back, because what happens when they take it back, it just causes them all kinds of grief.
Okay. We don't want to do that.
So there was a letter put together that if we don't, if there's still some balance on that loan that we don't use, that at a certain date, and I want to say it's the end of October, November, it might be November, and so many dates flying in my head, that they would then restructure the loan.
Okay, they may have changed what they did then and do that, because back in the day, they wouldn't do that. And the real reason for that was lots of states, the SRF is a federal program. Massachusetts prided itself on two things. Every nickel that they asked for, they spent it. And everyone that in Illinois, in New York, that didn't. Walter Ozzie was great. He ran the program, and I was the administrative. It was the regulatory side. He was the money side, and then I took over his job later. But he loved it. Give us 20 million. We could take 20 million. So that priority list.
Yeah.
That was for next year. He'd start saying, "Hey, Lowell, Lynn, Worcester, come in."
That makes sense.
Right.
So that was the theme. Somebody caught up to this probably, because they were doing it for decades, and said, no, we're going to take it back.
I would think it's better use of the money to spend the 600 from the state
We can use it.
that's low interest.
Yeah.
Than having to then plan on maybe X number of dollars out of the operating budget.
If we can use it for something that is legitimate.
I'm okay with that, as long as we can, feather it out until we can.
I mean, in 1999, we had $2 million. We had $2 million savings, and I went back to the state and I said, no. So we took the capital budget that for all the trucks, we had no trucks. There was nothing that DEP wouldn't pay for at the time. All the trucks, the plows, everything. So I said, here, to Ken Vendel, said, yeah, there's a shopping list. You got $2 million, go for it. And they bought all the, everything.
Yeah, because $600,000 over a 20-year loan reduction isn't gonna
No.
have that much of an
About
impact.
$20,000 a year.
Yeah,
So
So-
can we go for a, you know, we're definitely gonna go for a rate increase, but something modest. And then if it covers what we have, 600 here and then just time
Right.
moves on.
right.
And then we can come back and revisit it in the springtime, anytime we want the rates. If
Right.
we need to go up a little bit more, or if we can drop down, it depends on what town meeting pushes. If town meeting
Yeah,
throws in a third toward it, it's gonna help us dramatically over the next couple of years.
and that's it. Maybe we put a rate structure together that's good for, let's say, 3 years. And by then, there should be activity on the fourth tank and we can revisit it.
I wouldn't go, just,
No, go
Put a
ahead.
timeline on it.
I put like
I put a
Yeah.
6-month timeline or something, an 8-month timeline.
no,
You never
you
know how things are gonna go. Like,
yeah, there's so much in flux that now that, yeah, you know,
it would almost be that maybe as a department, we visit it on a yearly basis like we
Yeah.
do with our budget. If we're doing good, we're starting to get more betterments in, like Bill's.
Yeah, yeah,
position
yeah.
is that in the future, as more people come on, there's a chance that maybe these numbers can come down. Or, you know, as costs are going up and betterments are coming in, maybe they stay the same, but we could evaluate it on a yearly basis.
Well, I'm probably looking at more myself that like this first round, should we be looking at 2029? You know what I mean?
Right, well, if we revisit next spring or
Maybe
sometime
that's-
next year, we're just gonna say, carry on with the same.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's the options, the
Right.
two
Do
options.
you vote to keep it as is, or do we look
And
at?
the proposals we put together illustrate a couple of those types of examples.
We're looking at a 3-year plan here, but we could revisit anytime we want
Right.
and change it. Or, you
Yeah,
know,
that, yeah,
So-
that's
as
true.
long as one, we have to have the numbers that say with the 10 million
Yeah,
and without,
okay,
at the very least.
Yep.
Here's the rates, well, the rates are gonna change based on a discussion now, whether it's fee, you know, flat
Right.
fee, and then volume, those are easier. But then, I mean, not that they're easy, but they're easier.
yeah,
But then we have this 10 million, that's $350,000 more or less. That goes back on our dime, and we gotta come up with a place to put that. Some of that can be with betterments, but if we don't get betterments out, there's a delta, there's always a delta on the
Right.
negative side, so. And the bigger the betterment we have to sell, the harder it is to sell.
So, yeah, definitely. I think it's such its own organism that we almost have to look at it. Especially like we've found out recently that our accounting numbers, you
Right.
know, are quite different from, you know, what we expected and what they are now. So as we're getting, through this process in the next year, then we can say, okay, these are our numbers. This is what actually came in. The whole new upgrade has been a variable for us, not knowing the added electric costs and some
Right,
other
No,
variables.
no,
So
exactly.
there's some new information that's coming in that is only going to help us, you know, figure some of this stuff. But on that note too, as far as trying to reduce some of the costs or increase some of the revenue, obviously, the water department recently started billing the town buildings for their usage, and we're not billing on the sewage.
and to
So,
Brian's, we did for a while, and then it went into the facilities budget, and then it just like got dropped off.
fell off. Okay,
So
so these are
again,
some
not
things.
blaming anybody, but it was in place.
So where do revenue from the town hall and whoever's on?
Yeah.
It's a really big number.
Whatever they use. And so they haven't been paying.
So is that something that was established, then fell off the wagon, and we can look at getting that revenue from that? whole
They were
area?
never,
Or do we-
exempt from paying.
No, they weren't.
Would you do it from this time forward? Because obviously that's a pretty large number that could attack some of this immediate need.
Let me see if I have any old emails or something on that whole thing.
And that's, you know, there's so many variables. That's why it's even a year from now, whatever number we come up with, as some of these things are being weeded out, that will change everything again. And again, it's like an organism that, you know,
Right,
grappling with, you know, that there's so many unknowns and there's so much history. and with town meeting and other variables that could play into this whole thing, we could set a rate and vote on a rate on the second. And then next year it could be very different because town meeting decides, okay, yes, we should have been paying a third and all these buildings should have been paying this much.
So, yeah.
To wait 3 years to readdress.
No,
this.
we could readdress it in
Well-
time and downgrade it.
I probably should clarify that 3 years. I'm just thinking that whatever race we put together is not looking 20 years down the
Oh,
line.
sure.
Let's
sure.
get through
Right.
3
And we let
years.
people know.
But not
Let's
really,
look at it
We're
every
gonna
year.
Every year,
monitor
yeah,
this
because
as variables change.
Right. I just don't, to Brian's point, having $500,000 each year in the kitty, do we have to do that like today? Can we wait till 2 years from now to?
Well, yeah, I was wondering about that.
Start that.
We have the ability to have a percentage in reserve at all times.
Right.
yeah, we should always.
I don't think we're gonna need it in the next 2 or 3 years because we've already got everything's brand new, right? Dave, everything's brand new, right?
Oh, the plant is,
Yeah.
the leaching
Leaching
field
field
is.
Pump
We have a
stations.
24-year-old collection system,
That is true.
24-year-old generators,
Yeah.
24-year-old pumps, 24-year-old control cabinets. It's like a house.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be the Taj Mahal, but it has to function.
It has to function.
And if it doesn't function and there's a major issue, you have a major environmental issue that you've got wastewater flowing down the road. So there's upkeep like a house has.
Right.
And there's electricity and other things that a house has. So there are things and needs we will have. Huge multi-million-dollar upgrades, I don't see that being the case, but there's still general maintenance. I don't want that to fall off the wagon.
Right.
We have other things falling apart.
I was just assuming a lot of that stuff got caught up to with all this, the new stuff that's.
And no entity is gonna be the 600,000. So
Yes.
you can anticipate,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I
So,
think that we
We have to
we
get
establish, this is more David,
Done.
establishing that we have at least 600,000, that's a small number, in the bag for any kind of unexpected contingencies, and we add to it every
Yeah.
year, at least that much, or half of that much, but there's something where we have this in the bank, because we're not gonna have any other sources of revenues except for limited amount of betterments, but that's capital,
Right.
so it's not the same. We don't mix apples and oranges. And then it's our customers, and our customers, as long as they see that we're doing everything we can to find any legitimate source of revenue, they'll be more happy than not.
and it does, it comes down to everything was going, we were on track, we had surplus revenue of hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. And then that 1 year, we had 93,000. It was like, and since then, we've been trying to get the numbers to back that up. And this is where we called in Kyle Pike to see if he could help. But now we're back up to $436,000 of surplus revenue, free cash.
I mean,
I
hindsight,
mean, that's like-
6 years ago, we should have gone up on the rates,
Agreed.
and we should
Yeah.
have eased it up a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, that's the
Unfortunately,
only,
it's been 14 years, but
Right.
it's been a good ride,
Right,
for flat rate for 14 years.
you know, we did this, Dave and I and Gene, we did, if you take what we were, and if you just add, if you take that curve or whatever, the high number, the $18,000, $18, if you take go over that period of time, 15 to 16 years since we did the race, whatever it was,
Yeah.
14, it's 2%. It's exactly inflation. You know, what everything's.
Right, you're right.
And we didn't do anything, so
Increasing
we were
2% a year.
eating money because we weren't increasing it.
right,
And now here we are, you gotta pay the piper.
right.
But when you look at the big picture, it's really not that bad. It's like, comes right out.
I like that because that's good information.
And for 14 years, you weren't paying a 2%
You weren't paying,
increase.
you weren't paying
You were
2%.
getting a free lunch,
And then at this point in
so to
time,
speak.
if you were paying all the way along, now you only have, you're starting off at the top where it was. Would have been.
So, and you look at some of the comments, Facebook related that might say, well, stop spending money. Who hasn't spent more money now
Yeah.
than they did in 2010?
Well, if the average is,
Every single piece of your life has gone up since 2010.
If-
Find someone who hasn't
More than
bought
two-
anything.
more than
since
2%.
2010.
if the average is 2% per year, the town budget excluding the enterprise funds increased 7.7%
Yeah.
just last year
Yeah.
alone. So,
We have somebody, a hockey player watching us.
That's Luke.
Let's look.
There was one other thing I
That's a
wanted to
friendly loop,
mention
right?
too.
It's a friendly loop.
We did get to, I forgot to mention this in my update, we got to replace that last air relief valve on Lynx Way last Wednesday. Everything went fine. We have two major pump stations in town, Rocky Nook and Jones River. And the air relief valves on those 30 years old, back to your question. They never been changed out.
Okay.
So we actually bypassed the entire half of town 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Replaced Prospect Street, which is a Jones River pump station. This last Wednesday, we did the same thing, bypassed all the flow this side of Route 3 and drained everything back, replaced the air relief valves, put new ones on. So those are things that, even though the upgrade happened, these are still items. that-
Could I ask you a quick question about what budget pays for that, not the upgrades?
So on
Or,
that,
or would that be, that's something we would normally pay for, not out of our operating budget?
so in the past, we've taken some air relief valves
Mhm.
and just done it on our operating budget.
Yep.
These two, we put in a capital improvement project.
Okay.
Of looking at the, it's $100,000, looking at the collection system, air relief valves, actuators, check valves, things like that. So I'm gonna put that on that budget item,
Okay, no,
So
that's all.
that,
I wanna be-
that article.
Yeah, it's a town meeting article.
Okay, yep.
And in all our town meetings, articles for years have said, in any unforeseen expenses.
Right.
So,
So that included having 8 pump trucks set up at various stations, taking all the wastewater, vacuuming it down, bringing it up to the plant, shuffling it. So we didn't have any flow coming into the pump station while we did all this. It was, it was a good 4.5 hours for that to happen. So it's a substantial operation just to take down
But,
those.
but that basically paid for by the user fees and our operating budget.
Yes. That was,
6,
sorry,
Sorry.
that was article money, which was basically leftover money from the operating budget in prior years.
Okay, yes, no, that's, so, yeah, so.
typically it's a result of septic.
That's, that should be, again, sacrosanct, that septic money for the unexpected stuff that isn't planned, as opposed to,
Yes,
this,
I agree, we should get back to that,
Yeah.
whenever we can.
Because we used to, for a while, we were paying, let's say we had 400,000 in free cash, we would always take 100,000 and pay the operating budget to keep that. But
I got you, yeah.
how many pump stations do we have? 9,
68.
16. I had 15 in there before, then I said, no, there's only 9, and then I said, no, there's gonna be 9.
It was 16.
I didn't have my plan to look
Unfortunately,
at.
I wish we were 9.
So I just wanna change my little thing here. That was my question.
so Tuesday night we'll have a meeting.
Yeah.
4:30.
I'll have to check and just make sure that we have the room.
Yeah. Anyway.
After that.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll take any room.
Yeah.
We can meet in their office, yeah.
Yeah.
Leave the door open.
So we can have the sheet with it's like 3 options, right?
Yeah, we'll push it.
So, yeah, to summarize, I guess, going back, we'll look at one option with the user fee being a small portion and user consumption as a bigger portion of it.
To me, I think so, I think that's fair. You know,
We're
the
looking-
guy's not getting squeezed.
We'll look at doing the same thing with the town taking 1/3, like the original thing, 1/3 of the expenses for the assets, like the upgrade in the leaching fields. So we can do it that way. And then,
I'd like to see a separate user fee and betterment for the debt.
move the fee and separate the debt out as a new betterment.
Right.
We're gonna be able to plug free cash into this?
That's what we can figure something out, yeah.
What we're talking about betterments right now is something in the order of 32,000 to 30,000, something like that, I mean, right?
Right now,
Worst
we're
case.
currently at 22.
Right.
So I feel that the number we'd have to be is competitive with putting in a leaching field. What's a new leaching field averaging around 25? So if we were, say, and this is obviously up to the commission, but somewhere between 26 and 30.
Yeah, cause I did some quick numbers and, I came up with like a $28,000
Yeah, like, the-
fee. And I think we threw that out at 1.2.
as I said, 28 was on the low end, and then as we start looking at if it's all 10 million and we have no other way out, in worst case, that's why I got to the 32,000.
Yeah.
But, we could always start with the 27, 28, which is significant, to me, it's, how do you know, 22 to 28 after 20 years, so it seems like a very short amount, but if we do that, here's the numbers. It all depends on how many, if you back out the flow, not ERUs, 330,000 gallons, 330 gallons per ERU. If you go to what's actually is the flow,
Right.
it's like 200,
Yeah,
okay? 70 per bedroom. It's actual use. So if you figure that we have, what I did, this is 10 million.
I'm actually gonna cut out so I can get to the.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
So,
Are we all good?
Divided by
Adjourn?
900. So,
who's in the thought?
Okay, I'll turn.
Okay.
Thank you.
it comes out to that kind of number. It's gotta be around 26,000, 27, at the very least. It's gotta be, I think 28. 28's not a
I
big
think
deal.
28. At least you can compete with
And if
someone
it goes
that
up, it has
says,
to go up.
someone says, hey, I've got to put in a leaching field and it's gonna be 26. Hey, it's only 28 to come in here and you never have to worry about it. You never have to replace your leaching field if you join the sewer. So at least you're kind of apples to apples at that point. But certainly we can look at what revenue streams that would generate and how that fits in.
All right, we just have a pretty simple table. I don't think we need that. We have all the answers to
Yeah.
discuss, but here's what we are looking at. And it's 1, 2, 3. We don't
I
have
was
this.
speaking to the gentleman up on Links Way about I think I CC'd you on an email.
Yep.
They're looking at, when they restore that area, they're gonna get a revised quote, because he had talked about irrigation on all that space up there. We're not paying anything for that.
That's right, you see my email about if you want to do this, put a sprinkler head. Here's
Yes.
all our pipes are here.
Mhm.
You can put a sprinkler head, you can do as much as you want, reaching across,
Mhm.
if you want to do that, but you put a pipe across this, no.
Yeah.
No more pipes across.
Nothing in our easement. Let it
Three
spray.
easements, I mean, there's water, gas, and us, they're all there.
And the irrigation only goes down 12 inches anyways, if that.
Yeah, but if we have to go in there and rip it up again,
Oh, yeah.
I don't want, no, we're not doing it. So just, you understand, we have an easement, we paid you for your mistake before, we're not doing that again. So you come up with a way to spray across this thing. And if you can't reach it, well then we'll just put brush there. Trees or something.
Yeah.
And then the valves that we're all around surrounded by stuff for this, that's gonna get cleaned too. That should be mulch or something, like you said.
Yeah, I think that's the direction it's probably gonna go. Oh, on the Links Way issue, when I spoke to the gentleman over there earlier yesterday, he was asking if they can tie it to sewer, which is interesting because that all Links Way is on something, even though our sewer is right out front there. So I told him anytime any one of those things fails, definitely come on board. So
If it fails, that's,
this is a notification thing that we can start
Yeah.
reaching out to some of these people.
In Indian Pond Estates, there are houses that are on our sewer line. I know that the clubhouse is on the sewer line, a couple of the outbuildings.
There's a couple other As
All
you
the
go
houses
up and
have
around
condos,
this way.
the swimming pool area, any of that stuff, or the.
All around our leaching field, all the way up that part of the way, right?
Yeah, but to your point, I don't know. Some of that stuff happened before I came
Okay,
on
yeah.
board, so,
Only because I bring up the fact that they don't have town water on some of those lots up there.
really,
The town wouldn't give them water, so they put wells in.
but they're wells.
You know, are those the houses that are on that end of the complex that are on wells that are hooked up to our system? You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
the general contractor, the owner of the property, just basically did whatever he wanted. He's the one that does all the work up there.
yeah.
He can tie in, he could have tied into the sewer lines anytime he wanted. They never brought it by us to do it.
Yeah, I think once we get through all
Yep.
this stuff, that should be something that we look at, like,
The water department can tell us what houses are not on.
I can't imagine those people failing. There's so much sand up there. And the
No, I don't see them failing. What I'm getting at is that if they're tied into our system and they got a well on the property. that
yeah,
feeds them
how are
with
they
water,
being billed, right?
They're not, they wouldn't be being.
Right.
And how many of his outbuildings, you know, are being fed by well water up there because he has wells for his outbuildings?
Yeah, I don't know.
So he's having a hard time with the wells now. DEP's on him for using water for irrigation. He wants to come back to us for more treated wastewater
Right.
because he's gonna get hammered for using 100,000 gallons a day. He's probably over that by a lot.
Oh, as far as the wells?
Yeah, his use of that water is being
Well,
highly
the
used.
thing was, is that when he first approached the town, he would have to go through the Board of Health to have anything under 10,000 gallons a day. And then he went to the state and anything higher than 100 and something thousand
That's
gallons
bad.
was through the state.
Right.
So he put in wells that were pumping 60,000 gallons of water all over the place. So he bypassed both the state and the town.
They're caught up to him. They're now caught up to him. That's
Oh, now they've caught up to him?
now that he's come through, he's fishing around for getting water from us now.
Again,
Again, that's, I said, well, that's down the road. But he's gonna pay for everything
up front, right?
upfront.
All right,
And it's,
are we all good?
yeah, I'm just thinking if I had the sewer plant here, I don't. I know there's quite a few people on that sewer there. That was all part of the deal to help him out. There was 40 Bs on the sewer. Front. But I can't find it. It's on the
So
big plan.
they must have town water then.
Yeah, they're on town, most of them on town water. The only ones
Because I know
don't-
that there was an issue, the water department wasn't gonna give them water. We put water lines in and everything, but they never saw the water lines go in. So they said, we're not gonna put any town water in the systems. I don't know if they resolved that, or not, but that's how they left it. He did all the infrastructure
Yeah.
and they never approved it, they never saw it. And they said, we're not gonna turn on the gates because we don't know what's there.
Hmm.
And then they would own them. So they put in wells, built the houses.
So, let's see, get my bags here. So
Maybe
there's-
run into Chris, ask him a question sometime, correct?
Yeah, who's on?
He should know what's up there.
Genie, probably, you have a list, right, that would have all that data on it too?
Doesn't have it.
Brian? You have more business?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All of in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Gene. Thank you, Dave.